So I have no idea what this fucking article is. I saw the name and I was like, we're doing this on stream. I'm going in blind. I don't know if I'll agree with everything, but we're fucking doing it, folks. Before we get started, you'll notice that I am missing my dear co-host. Zena is down with a significant migraine and is napping. So they wish they could be here. They love you. So let's get into it. I found this article randomly on Twitter, and the name tickled my fancy so much that I felt like we needed to go over it. So let's go. Nothing captures the heart of my queer anger like Godzilla. For many LGBTQ plus fans, Godzilla represents our anger with the world that perceives us as monsters that needs to be stopped. Look at him. Look at him. Welcome to Wrath Month, our post-Pride series embracing queer anger. Based. We're going to do a sound test. Shalibity. You are more than able, if you want to cut out the sound test and just have it jump ahead, that's so... Cannot access contents of page, extension manifest, must request permission to access repetitive host. Oh, all right, well, let's read it. Just cut that segment out then. All right, let's get started. Godzilla is many things to many people. Originating as a metaphor for the atomic bombs the United States dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II, the gigantic sea monster has accrued more meaning in the nearly 7 decades that have passed since the original film in 1954's debut. He has been a villain and a hero, an ancient alpha predator, a superhero sidekick, and a natural disaster that cannot be stopped by the government bureaucracy. To name just a few functions Godzilla has served over the years. He has stood against humanity's hubris as a warning against science run amok and as a protector of the environment. So in all those versions, he is hero and villain. So we're talking about the Showa era, Heisei era. Ancient Alpha Predator is the Legendary series. Hero is also part of the Showa. Natural Disaster is Shin Godzilla. But for many queer fans like myself, Godzilla has also represented our anger with a world that all too frequently perceives us as monsters that needs to be stopped. Ever since I saw 1973 Godzilla vs. Megalon as a child, I have always identified in some way with the monster. True, same. Mine was with Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. Long before I recognized my own queerness, in part, I wanted to be more like him and found it cathartic. Also true. Almost comforting to watch Godzilla take down anything that gets in his way. I am small and meek. Godzilla is not. The appeal of being a giant, borderline unkillable giant monster, or a kaiju, the use of the Japanese term, remains salient as I came to age. Who wouldn't want to be an unstoppable force, unbothered by those that rally against them, especially now, who doesn't look at society that we're all stuck in and dream of burning it down? True. But after coming out as pansexual and non-binary in my 30s, the way I perceived Godzilla, as well as other kaiju he fought alongside and against, began to change. Even more so, I have discovered other queer fans of the genre online. I still appreciate Godzilla's destructiveness, but I realize that he only creates so much chaos because he does not fit into a world that humankind has constructed. So I love this idea that in some ways Godzilla represents this unstoppable force of nature that is incredibly powerful and it does not fit in the world. Who hasn't felt like that? Right? Even me, who's somebody who has had a fairly unique series of experiences where I felt very one with things, then does that. The biggest issue is that even in those experiences, I can simultaneously not feel disconnected from others and also feel alien in the world due to my queerness, due to my neurodiversity. This stuff is really hard. Monsters are tragic beings. Original Godzilla director Ishiro Honda famously said, "They are born too tall, too strong, too heavy. They are not evil by choice. That is their tragedy." It's this deeper pathos behind Godzilla, his mismatch with the world around him, that has resonated with me even longer than his anger alone. I realize how that Godzilla's tragic monstrosity is what drew me to him, even as a kid who didn't understand why they felt so much like an alien around other people, both at school and at home around their monstrosity. Okay, yeah, I just read that weird. Thank you. Didn't understand why they felt so much like an alien around other people, both at school and at home with my family. There may not have been overt queerness in these films, aside from actor Raymond Burr, closeted, present in 1956 Godzilla King of the Monsters and in Godzilla 1985, but the subtext is strong enough to have attracted a legion of LGBTQ plus fans. On Twitter, I've met many queer fans who use the hashtag LGodzillaBT. That's amazing. We should all be using that. Through which passionate people bring a light to these overlooked aspects of kaiju films, often by translating the Japanese material surrounded by them. Violence, corporatization, and otherness are all too familiar themes in contemporary queer life. Godzilla speaks to all of them. We know that Honda, who directed 7 other Godzilla films after 1954's original, and even more monster and sci-fi films for Toho Studios, always maintained a sympathetic view of the kaiju he put on screen. He understood that monsters are not simply villains to be defeated, that beyond representing nuclear horror and other fears, they can also be seen as victims of those same fears. His films highlighted clashes between the old world and the new world as Japan rebuilt from the destruction of the war, with younger characters bristling against the standards and traditions of their parents and authorities. Films like 1961's Mothra and its sequel, 1964's sequel Mothra vs. Godzilla, highlighted criticisms against capitalism, while the original Japanese version of 1963's King Kong vs. Godzilla satirized the grip that television, still a young medium at the time, was starting to have over the population. The title fight being arranged largely to boost ratings for a show sponsored by a fictional pharmaceutical company. I didn't remember that, but that's fucking based. Those elements stand out more and more today, feeling almost prescient. Violence, corporatization, and otherness are all too familiar themes in contemporary queer life, and Godzilla speaks to them all. As our world grows increasingly dystopian, I find myself reaching for the kaiju that have long symbolized the kind of destruction humanity wreaks on itself. As the Supreme Court strips us of our rights and our bodily autonomy, as the GOP lawmakers across the country devise discriminatory legislation against trans and gender nonconforming people, and as companies pretend to stand with us during Pride while donating to those same lawmakers that hate us, I just keep growing angrier. I am not good with anger. I don't know what to do with it, how to use it. When I'm mad, it's like when I have too much caffeine. I'm restless, anxious, too easily set off, unable to focus clearly on anything. When Godzilla rampages through a city in a seemingly directionless manner, shrugging off military attacks, I wonder if he feels the same way. What looks like a world like what looks to the world like wanton destruction may be what it's like for Godzilla to simply exist. The society that he awakens to, wherever or whenever he makes landfall, is actively against him and any other monster that shows up. As queer people deal with the same recycled attacks that we've weathered in past generations, it's hard not to feel Godzilla's weariness, and it's easy to side with him and other kaiju when they find themselves in conflict with humanity. That's why over the past handful of years, I've been doing what I refer to as social justice kaiju portraits, drawings of Godzilla and other kaiju with angry statements against racism, homophobia, white supremacy, and other social political evils. I sell some of these as stickers and as buttons. I'm just going to open this in another tab real quick. It has become the quickest and easiest way to express my own emotions over the state of things in life, and I encourage others to use these images as well. These days, I root for King Ghidorah and Rodan when they level Washington, D.C. In 2019's Godzilla King of the Monsters, an image which lives rent-free, even when Godzilla ultimately saves humankind, as in the case in that movie, there's nowhere for him to go afterwards except to the bottom of the sea. The battle is won, and there are people who cheer him on, especially in the more recent MonsterVerse films, but he still doesn't fit in. He's the king of the monsters, but that title doesn't carry much weight in a world that rejects him. So back into the deep he goes until another colossal threat emerges. For queer people, no matter how much we are celebrated, retreating back into our own spaces often feels like the only option. Godzilla is tired, and we are tired too. In 2016's Shin Godzilla, the eponymous kaiju evolves from one form to the next, outpacing the Japanese government attempting to stop him. It's made clear that this god incarnate cannot be killed, only slowed down and temporarily stopped. The human cast, led by Hiro Hasegawa's Rando Yaguchi, are studying Godzilla as quickly as they can, trying to figure out why why this mutated colossus is making its way across Tokyo, but they never learn his motives. The audience does get some insights, however, thanks to the lyrics of Who Will Know, the Shiro Sajisu track, which plays when Godzilla first uses his atomic breath in response to attacks from the stealth bomber. I wear a void. As long as breath comes from my mouth, not even hope, it may yet stand the slightest chance, a downward slope, a shaft of light, and all I need is all I see to cease the darkness killing me. Oh, fuck, that one hurt. Oh, that fucking hurt. Guys, that was rough. If that's not an anthem for being queer in 21st century, I don't know what is. We too feel a strong despair, yet find the strength to keep going. Godzilla's rage and destruction absolutely feels justified, as horrific as the scenes are in the film, it feels imbued with the emotion in a way that sets it apart from most Hollywood disaster movies. There isn't some mindless rampage. It's a reaction to being deemed too strange and dangerous to inhabit our world. Nothing else in cinema comes close to the feeling so queer to me, even given the LGBTQ plus human characters that have started to break up the predominantly cishet monotony, of cinema. In many ways, I am still that same meek little kid, but Godzilla has shown me the value of queer wrath and of giving voice to my anger. I can't incinerate buildings with my breath. I can't stomp those who seek to oppress us through legislation, but I can draw inspiration from the giant monsters that I've looked up to all my life. I can pass that inspiration on to others. When fighting injustice, we should all try to stand tall and fight as fiercely as kaiju. How do I feel about that? That was based as fuck. Holy shit. This was written by a lovely person named Brett Marcus Cook, a pansexual non-binary person who I assume did this piece of art. Yep, that's by Brett Marcus Cook. And yeah, it's holy shit, guys. Like, that's... I can't express how powerful that was. That was really good. The reality of the situation is yeah, like, it's hard not to be angry. Pride just happened, and I could barely feel anything because of everything that's happening. The anti-trans legislation and the other stuff going on in the world right now, being framed as fucking groomers, like, everything. It just sucks. So I think anger is appropriate. I think anger can be shown healthily, and, you know, in some ways, even if we show our anger as in a healthy way as possible, we're still going to make mistakes. We're still going to lash out. We're still going to harm things. And maybe that's the point of being a giant fire-breathing lizard, is that, you know, sometimes your very existence is going to throw things off. I've said it before that trans identities, Zena and I have argued this a lot of times, but trans identities do throw off the world because everything is gendered. Everything is based around these genders. And you see the reactions between TERFs and conservatives. Their worldview is dying, and it scares them. Not unlike, say, seeing a giant kaiju. You think your way of life is coming to an end, and in a way it is. So, it's scary. So yeah, this was a fantastic piece. I'm really glad we read it through. Brett Marcus Cook, fantastic point. I had never considered this as a queer notion of representation, as a thing that is... but I think it's really, really good. And I can see ways in which, especially the not fitting in the world for Shin Godzilla, is so fucking true. So, yeah, I guess what I'll say is, you know, I'm glad we read this. This is an amazing piece. It'll be in the links below, hopefully, if I remember to do them. But yeah, I would just say very simply, yeah, guys, you're allowed to be angry. Maybe we got to talk more about what healthy anger looks like at some point. So, with that said, yeah, we'll cut the segment here. See you in the next one. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also, consider donating to us. You can support us on our website, transgirltherapist.org. You can also help us on our Patreon, link below, or you can become a member here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching.